Hello and welcome to the Empowerment Approach training, and this is part 8, our very final section and webinar, and this is just a summary and next steps to really look at what the last 7 webinars have all been about and see what you've taken from it and what your next steps are. So at the very beginning we looked at the fact that there's these 15 different elements of the approach, the first 5 of which are all about building the foundations to support young people in really having a good chance of doing really well and achieving well and being able to be at their best. And then when things do go wrong, we have explored the best way, based on the neuroscience and based on psychology, the best way of responding to young people in the moment to help them get back on track and to regulate their feelings. And then we looked at how follow-up is so important, and without follow-up, children really just aren't going to make that same progress. You'll be stuck in that paramedic mode of responding in the moment. So follow-up is the thing that actually enables young people to actually make sense of their own behaviours and plan how to do better next time. Repair is something that I really believe very strongly is essential, so that children are supported to really think through what they need to do in order to make amends for any behaviour that caused harm in any way to anybody. But we do say don't force apology, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And then coaching for progress for those young people who have really got quite high needs and low skills and need something more intensive for at least a time limited period. So we've got this building the foundations, responding in the moment, but follow up with the coaching and coaching for progress. Any teacher who really goes about making sure that those 15 elements are a really consistently well repeated element of your classroom practice, and that you always work hard at building the foundations, and that you always respond in the moment through Calm Connect support, that you have that unconditional positive regard for the young people in your class, that you follow up always with coaching conversations, you never let anything go, you have high expectations, and so you follow up even small things that happen. And then those young people in your class who need additional support and have got higher needs, that you always make time. Hopefully within your schools, this is part of the processes that happen in every class. That's the ideal, that there's a process and a system for coaching, and that there's procedures for follow-up. But even if there's not, if you're in a school where that doesn't happen and that there aren't yet any systems for making sure follow-up always happens, I think as a class teacher you can still take that on board, and you can still make sure that you do that with your class. We have mantras for each of these, which are just phrases which help to just keep hold in your head of these really important different elements, these key elements. So we say, in terms of mindset, if you really believe that people who feel better do better, and if you're curious, not furious about behaviour, you'll probably have the right mindset relating to our approach. In terms of relationships, we say generate oxytocin. It's not just about being nice to children. This is about helping children to feel properly trusted and attached, really creating very strong connections with young people so that they have really good firm attachments within the school. In teaching, if you focus on the fact that you're empowering children who have knowledge of self, empowering yourself with knowledge of self is what you're trying to get every child to be able to do. In terms of agreeing expectations, agreeing them with children and focusing on everybody being happy, safe and able to learn, rather than just focusing on rules. And then in terms of prep for best, predicting, prevent and planning to succeed. So predicting what might go wrong and planning with children how they can succeed despite that through the right scaffold, strategies and plans ahead. And then in terms of responding in the moment, we've talked about Calm connect, support. So we've got, if you can't get calm, get help, and practicing ways to be able to stay calm even when you've got very big stressors, which are so common in the classroom. Teaching is a really, really hard job. It's tough, and so we do have to practice and prepare ahead of time in order to be calm. Connect to calm. We know that by connecting, we can help young people to become more calm. And high expectations, high support. So we expect children to do well, but we give them support, really high support. And then in terms of follow-up, we've got introducing it, where we introduce in a very matter-of-fact way, hands and eyes busy, brain being free to think, listening to understand, not to respond. So we're really trying to dig deep and get to the core. We're going to peel the layers of that onion away till we help that young person really understand what might be driving or beneath their behaviours. And then in terms of sharing, we say I for the issues, you for the praise. So when we talk about the issues we've got, we use I rather than you. So we come out of blaming and we say, when I see people moving around the class, it's really difficult for me to keep the flow of my teaching going. So it's all about I and me rather than using the word you when we're sharing our concerns. Let's keep you for the praise. I always think when a child's put lots of effort into something or they've got better at something, then we can use the you. Oh, I've really noticed that you used to find it really hard to keep your body still when for long periods and listening, and now you're really good at doing that. That must feel great for you. So we give the praise back to them. Problem solving, don't be a fixer, get the child to do the problem solve, don't rescue them. We've got to get them to practice being great problem solvers. And repair. Now, I haven't spoken about this before, and we're not going to go into great detail about repair because that really comes into our longer course. But repair is very much about getting children to become more empathic by hearing what things are like for other people. If children say, I don't care, then that gives us information that they have not yet developed the skill of empathy. All it does is give us the information that we need to give them some more support and help to get better at that skill. So we say, don't force apology. Empathy is a skill. If they won't apologise, we need to help them with the skill of empathy. And then we went on to coaching for progress, where I talked about planning pathways to independence. So children don't become dependent on an adult or a particular scaffold forever, but they know that the goal is for them to be able to manage independently in the end. We also talked about filling cups of need. If they have a high need to feel responsible, to feel noticed, if they have a high need to feel loved and cared for, if they have a high need to feel in control, we need to help them fill those needs in helpful ways, through responsibilities, through decision making, through giving them particular jobs and responsibilities within the class so that they feel that they're really important. And then building skills, the skills of flexibility, the skills of impulse control, the skills of memory. We can help them to build those skills. In the meantime, we say keep safe with scaffolds. So whilst children are building those skills, it might be that they haven't got the skills yet for other people around them to do well. So we'll have to put scaffolds in place to ensure that everybody else around them is still safe and able to learn. So keep safe with scaffolds. So there are those 15 key different elements of this approach. And in the next 2 pages, I've just got some pictures, and I wonder whether you can explain each of these and give as much information as you can. They have all featured in the webinars over the last 7 different webinars. And if you can answer all of them, you've probably got a pretty good idea of the different elements of the approach. At the top there, you've got the different cards, the basic physical, the sensory, the people around me emotional needs, and the world around me emotional needs. I wonder if you can name each of those different needs. We've then got cups of need. I wonder if you can explain what that's about. And then what's this empty cup? And then another cup for the prickles. What's that all about? In the second line down, we've got those different stress responses. Can you explain each of them and give examples? And then we've got these different positions. The grey positions, which are powerless, and then the empowered positions. Can you name them and can you explain them? In the far right on the second row, we've got the control centre skills or executive function skills. Can you name each of those executive function skills, and can you give examples of them and describe them? And then on the bottom row, we've got the balance of life, which is all about experiences. Can you explain what that is all about? And adverse childhood experiences, can you name what they are? Then we've got coloured lenses. What was all that about? Why do we use coloured lenses? What's that model hoping to explain? And then we've got the 4 dogs, which are related to those feel-good chemicals. Can you name what they are and give some examples of helpful and unhelpful ways in which you can get those feel-good chemicals? And then we've got the prickles and the warm fuzzies, the pleasant and unpleasant. And you may remember the affect model designed by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. Can you explain a bit about that? You might want to explain about pleasant and unpleasant and different levels of energy. And then next to that, we've got the spiky profile. You might want to now pause the screen and just see if you can write a few bits or explain a few bits about each. On this page, we've got the scaling model. Something missing on the far right. I wonder if you can work out what that is. Then we're back to the affect model. I've got it there again. Then we've got stress balloons. Can you explain each of them? Followed by filling cups. What do we mean by filling cups? I'll say the word needs, and you could perhaps give some examples of how you can fill needs. And next to that, we've got pathways to independence. Could you explain what that's about and what we're trying to aim for? On the second row, we've got expectations. How in this approach should we agree expectations with children? What could happen? And then in the next 2 boxes, we've got those different executive function skills, but the strength-based model of those. I wonder if you can remember each of those animals and what it was all about. Next to that, we've got responding in the moment. Can you give an example? Can you practice and describe a good example of Calm Connect support, perhaps several different examples in different scenarios? And then we've got the stop start action. I wonder if you can give a few examples of something to stop, and then what would be the start and what kind of action would help that person achieve it. And on the bottom row, we've got the 4 different the sequence of 4 different parts of coaching conversations, followed in the next one by coaching for progress. Can you give some examples of that and what we do with coaching for progress? And then finally, we've got this prep for best, predict, to prevent and plan to succeed. Perhaps you could again give the screen a pause and see if you can write as much as you can about each. As I said, if you can manage to write about each of them, you will probably be in a really good position to have a good understanding of the approach and start implementing it in your own classroom. Throughout these webinars, I've given you some different reading suggestions. Anything by Dr. Stuart Ablon. He's written a few books. Changeable is one of them, and then the School Discipline Fix is another one. Jane Nelson has written a whole set of books, all are called Positive Discipline. Not my favourite term, but she writes very wisely. Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett has written all about emotions. Dr. Stuart Shanker has written about self-regulation. We've then got people like Pippa Perry, who's written about connection, along with Jennifer Kalari, Gabor Mate. If you'd like to know more suggestions in terms of good reading books, then Deborah McNamara is somebody else. Please do get in touch. I'm really happy to talk through our reading list. We've also got an evidence chart which documents where all of the research underpinning our approach comes from, and I'd be very happy to talk that through as well. I really hope that you've enjoyed this course, that you've gained something from it, that it's had some kind of impact, positive impact on your practice. If you'd like to learn more about our approach and become an advanced practitioner, then please do get in touch. You'll find our details at the end of the different webinars. Take care and good luck. I wish you every great best wishes for your future teaching. It's a fantastic job, and I'm sure you'll have many, many happy moments. I'm sure also that if you use some of the strategies in this approach, you'll also feel not only happy, but very empowered. Goodbye.